Kids of back in my day parents, what's the most annoying thing they ranted about? Story 1. All through my teenage years, my mom would get mad that I didn't know how to cook or clean something good enough, or use something correctly, usually gardening tools, etc. When I was your age, I could run my family's B&B single-handed. Then when she was done telling me how stupid I was for not knowing, she'd take over and tell me to go away. Thanks for teaching me how to do it right. That's how my dad taught me car maintenance. Okay, so just unscrew the plug. Which one's the plug? Here, move, let me do it. Several minutes later, you should really be the one doing this. Thanks, Dad. Sounds like a lot of older people I know will happily trash talk your lack of knowledge, will not teach you how to do it properly, will tell you to go away so they can do it themselves, will trash talk you more if you even try to hang around and learn by observation. That is one of my biggest pet peeves. It's harder with family, of course, but that's when you just need to go off on them and call them out for it. It's not that kids nowadays are too lazy to learn, it's more that adults are just too lazy to actually teach. Story 2. Dial phones. They complained about how kids these days, specifically my brother and I, don't know how to use them after forgetting we had one in the house until I was 7, and I know full well how to use one, and yet none of them can operate a telegraph using Morse code. My boss refuses to believe I know how to read a map, like an actual folding paper map, drive a manual transmission car, change a tire, operate a VCR. I always found this ironic because in my experience, the same folks complaining about this struggle to use smartphones. Like, the current kind of phone you'd want to use to call someone with. Story 3. Back in my day, kids didn't talk back to their parents or give them attitude. If they did, they got a good beating. First of all, what you and your parents consider talking back is actually called having any sort of opinion different from yours. And yeah, maybe I do have an attitude. It should be expected. I'm young and stupid, but not so stupid that I can't have a thought of my own. And any attitude I do give you is mostly because my opinions aren't taken seriously and you don't listen to me. Like when or if I'm a parent, I'd at least explain to my kid why something is wrong. I realize it can get tiring, but there's a certain point where you can do actual damage when you just do the because I said so to a 14-year-old over and over again. Story 4. When I was 11, I was hit by a car crossing the road, and it messed up the muscles in one of my legs, but I didn't officially find out about it until a couple years ago. I'm 23, so in high school I'd walk to school every day, and every day my calf muscles would feel like it was about to snap. I would tell my parents all the time and always got the, in our day we walked to school every day, and it was way further, blah blah blah. They thought I was trying to get rides to and from school and be lazy, lying about being in pain or saying it was just growing pain and that it was normal. Parents who don't listen to their kids about their pain is just wild to me. Like, yes, I know some kids do lie or just don't know what's happening to their growing bodies, but when it's every day and your child was hit by a car, you shouldn't question it. Story 5. The most annoying thing to me is how my parents complain that nobody from my community speaks our native language anymore. They say back in my day everyone spoke our language, and today none of you kids can. Guess what? The adults never taught it. It wasn't used in the homes. So how the F are we supposed to learn it? And then I have people from the home country call me and speak, and I'm like, I can barely understand. I can speak better than my siblings, but not by that much. And they yell at me. Don't blame me, blame my parents. My parents and my friends' parents can all blame themselves, not their children. How are you just gonna not teach your kids and then get upset when they don't know? Story 6. My dad used to tell us about he and his sisters had to walk to school each day in blinding blizzards in 8 feet of snow, with only plastic bags to keep their face warm, while someone slapped them on the back with the head of a cold fish. And of course we believed him. Then one day at the farm in the woods of the Beak 40, we found this old carriage on sled runners with a wood-burning stove. We asked Grandpa what it was. I used to drive your dad and your aunts to school in that winter. The old horses would pull. We never believed another story about my dad's hard upbringing ever again. I wonder if they had to go uphill both ways as well. Story 7. When they get nostalgic over things like encyclopedias and catalogs. Don't play. You hated searching and wonking as much as we do. You love Amazon and Wikipedia too. When I read this, the first thing that popped into my head was, too bad you can't just thumb to a random article in Wikipedia like you could in old print encyclopedias. But then I thought about it, and it seemed unlikely I was the first person to have this thought. I did a bit of research, and yes, you can get Wikipedia to serve a random article. That is something I did not know about Wikipedia. Now I want to go try this out. Story 8. The most annoying thing they rant about is us not providing our kids with the same life they had. My great-grandparents owned several thousand acres at the turn of the century. They passed down land, heirloom furniture, a thriving farm, etc. The next generation split that all up, sold a lot of it to start their own business. The next generation is the same. The last little plot of that is my mom's store. Each generation inherited less and less. I will inherit nothing. Got no land to start my family with, unlike them. No heirloom furniture, no money, nothing. My family looks down on me and my cousins for struggling, pretending they worked harder than we do, but they'll never know how hard our generation works for our kids. Now that's just sad. I'm sure those great-grandparents intended that farm to provide for many generations to come. Story 9. My parents like to go on about how technology and lazy parenting is the excuse. Yes, excuse for why mental health issues are rising. Not because it's becoming less taboo to talk about it or anything. Their generation is the one doing the parenting though. Reminds me of a joke. My grandfather said to me, "You and your generation rely too much on technology." And I told him, "No, you do," and pulled the plug to his life support. So dark, but such a classic. Story 10. My dad and uncle/aunt like to rant for about an hour. Young people don't have any honesty or work ethic. My oldest and youngest uncle made moonshine. My middle uncle stole cars. My dad built moonshine-running cars out of the parts. And my aunt ran off with a 50-year-old auger Deckley at 15. It took the car-stealing uncle going to jail to straighten them out. My landlord summed it up nicely. You would have gotten shot for pulling half the stuff at your age. Well, they had some kind of ethics, just not the legal kind. Story 11. It always drove me nuts when my parents would complain about how we never spend any time outdoors. Because back in their day, they'd be tramping through the woods at all hours of the night. I wanted to do that, but I wasn't allowed outside. Back in my day, we used to lay in the woods and build tree forts. Why don't you go and do that? No, Mom, we live in a suburban neighborhood where there are no woods in sight for 20 miles. There is no one my age that lives nearby, and we don't have any outside toys. What do you think I should do? Sounds to me like moving would be a good option if they want you to go outside and build forts and all. But really, it sounds like your parents just have to accept that times are different. And most kids can't just go wandering off on their own as much as they could when they were kids. It's not that you don't want to, it's just that you can't. Story 12. My mom was from Cambodia during the time when they were communist. Every time I ask for anything, it's back in my day. This is how most conversations go in my house. Cookie dough is just an example. Me, Mom, can we get some cookie dough for later? Mom. Back in my day, we ate bugs and we starved for days, fleeing from the communists, dodging bullets, running around dead bodies, and you're asking for cookie dough? You're so unappreciative and spoiled. Me, no, would have worked. At least she has more of an argument than most parents. I mean, still completely unnecessary, but a nice change from just, I had to walk for a bit more than you. Story 13. Not my parent, but my grandmother who basically raised me from age 8 likes to say, by your age I was married, pregnant, and working. What's wrong with you? She misses out the fact that she was still living with her parents and her now ex-husband. My bio-granddad was in prison. I think I'm doing pretty well for myself. I haven't got a job, but I'm not raising a kid that I don't want, like most of the people my age in this day and age. And I'm really trying to make a life for myself. I'll never understand when people use having a kid as a bragging point to kids. Like, do you really want your young child, or grandchild in this case, to have a kid they aren't ready for? Story 14. Job hunting. That's great that this worked for you in the 80s, but it's the 2010s. But just go in and apply. Just ask for the manager. That shows initiative. Right. Last time I did this at the insistence of my mother, they told me they don't keep printed applications anymore and to apply online. They were truly baffled that I came inside the store to apply for a job. Story 15. Back in my day, people weren't that soft and full of emotions because we didn't have so much free time. We were working, and if someone wasn't disciplined, they sent them to the military. And that's exactly what your generation needed, to get deprogrammed, because you guys have way too much time to think about your emotions. My dad said the same stuff. Honestly, I'd rather be more in tune with my emotions than repressed 24/7. Story 16. You kids get a trophy for everything now. You never learn how to try hard. Yes, when a child got participation trophies, they felt very patronizing. Also, I was 7. I didn't ask for the darn trophies. It was your generation who was giving them to me. I threw those participation trophies away so effing fast because it was so embarrassing. I didn't want them. I didn't walk around saying, look at what I won. I hated them. Makes me really wonder why they even bother giving them out when like every kid that gets them hates them so much. Story 17. My parents always complained that back in their day, the kids were always subjected to corporal punishments and were super submissive. They forgot that they already did that to me. They're just complaining that it didn't work as well, not that they are actually submissive to my grandparents. Basically, have bad parents and they're bad people. Story 18. Car seats. I don't care if you drove around with a baby laying in the front seat of your car. You aren't taking my toddler anywhere without a car seat. This one drives me nuts. Yes, Dad, my baby/toddler needs a car seat in the car, not just biting on the back seat/floor. No, the straps do not need to be nice and loose so she can wiggle around. No, those aren't extra buckles. My dad won't be driving her anymore. I can just hear the, you turned out all right. Story 19. Got yelled at when I quit a job in college that paid $8 an hour. I made $3 an hour when I was your age. I would have died to make that. Something inflation. Quit after I realized the money made in a month would barely pay for and didn't have enough time to actually read one of my textbooks. And I was taking 18 credits and didn't have enough time to actually read them. Older people not understanding inflation really just infuriates me. Story 20. Dad. Back in my day, if your dad made a joke about you and you made one back, he'd take you out back and best disrespect you. Me, that doesn't seem respectable. Beating people who you don't like up? Didn't you teach me not to do that? Dad, that was extremely disrespectful. And in my day, I would have whipped you with my belt for that. Story 21. My dad is more fond of the phrase, when I was starting out, which is basically the same thing I think. I should tell him, Dad, I haven't lived at home for more than 10 years now. I'm not looking to get married and have kids, ever. I'm not starting out anymore. Neither is my younger married sister, who owns her own apartment and has 2 dogs, and is also not looking to have kids. Story 22. My grandma hates computers and insisted that I continue practicing my cursive, which sucked, because I would have to write all of my high school college essays in cursive like she did. Same with my mom. Joke's on them now. My handwriting is the bastard child of print and cursive, unless I write really slow, and computers are a thing. Story 23. Apparently there was actual stuff you could buy for $0.25. Like, great, there's not anymore. What significance does this have to me? Nothing? Thought so. Absolutely love when they completely discount the effects of inflation too. In 1970, a quarter was worth $1.65 in today's money. God, how I would love to buy stuff for just a quarter now. Story 24. My father likes to ramble about how back in his day he went to school and also managed to work to provide sustenance for his mom and siblings. I think it's possible to study and work, but you have to be extremely lucky to earn enough to provide for a family these days while also studying. Story 25. How I was being a bad kid for ignoring them by playing or browsing Facebook. When they ignore me when I ask them a question by browsing Facebook, their excuse is, "We are your parents, we can do whatever we want. We're our kids, so you have to respect us." The classic do as I say, not as I do excuse. Story 26. I was an honor roll student. It isn't that hard. My mother, who took arts in high school, never went to college and arguing with me about how difficult it is to keep grades up. I'm a physics major, Mom. You don't know anything about what I'm doing. Story 27. Back in my day, we didn't have the internet. Dad, I don't know if you've noticed, but we still don't have internet 90% of the time. It astounds me that in today's day and age of technology, where we can send emails to the space station and cruise ships in the middle of the ocean, have Wi-Fi that rural internet is still not even close to reliable. Rural internet has got to be the most inconsistent thing in the world. Maybe the space station and all is just sucking it up or something. I don't know. Story 28. My mother would try to claim my siblings and I were lazy, because when she was 14, she used to come home from school, walk the dogs, then dance all night. Turns out she would go out drinking and clubbing. Underage. Wow, really setting some good standards there. Story 29. Back in their day, only complete losers had cars in high school. According to them, the cool guys were on the school bus with all the pretty girls. And they told me with a straight face, so that was an effing lie. I think your parents were losers in high school. Story 30. My stepdad always rants about me not buying a home when he bought one at 21 years old. He always forgets to mention that it only cost him $22,000. Story 31. We're seeing more cancer now. Why? When we were kids, we just played and ran. Gotta love that polio and measles. Yum. Story 32. That their parents were way stricter and more overbearing, so we had no room to complain. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Please like and subscribe for more videos to come, or else this spider will be in your bed tonight.